Welcome back to Anitronics. In this video, we'll implement a sequential model on top of the MNIST dataset. So, this MNIST is a classic dataset of handwritten images released in 1999 and it has served as a basis for benchmarking classification algorithms. Do subscribe and hit the bell icon to be updated with my new videos. Now let's get into the video. As I said before, in this we are going to work with MNIST dataset and it comprises of handwritten images of numbers from 0 to 9. So this is basically a classification problem where we take the input and classify it. So let's say if we have taken the image of number 1, then we have to classify which of the numbers starting from 0 to 9 does it belong to. So this is basically the dataset which we are going to work with. Now we start up by importing all of the packages we need. From Keras, we'll import models and we would require the dropout layer as well as the dense layer, and we have to convert some of the values in the dataset to categorical. So we'll be doing one-hot encoding, and to do that one-hot encoding we'll be importing two categorical from keras.utils. And as we are working on top of the MNIST dataset, we have to import it from keras.datasets. And then we would also be visualizing how the model works. So to visualize that, we have to import model to dot from keras.utils.visutils. And we'll be also importing svg from ipython.display to display the vector drawings. Now let's run it. As I have said in the previous videos, Keras will be running at the front end and TensorFlow will be running at the back end. Now we also need to import live loss plot. So this live loss plot helps us to have a glance at the live training of the model. So we can actually visualize how the error is decreasing and how the accuracy is increasing for each of the epoch. But now the importing part is done. And there are some initial variables we need to be created. So we'll set the number of rows to 28 and the number of columns to 28, and then the number of classes to 10 and the batch size to be 128, and then the number of epochs to 10. And then we'll go ahead and create a simple method which we can call again and again. So this method takes in 4 parameters. That is xtrain, ytrain, xtest and ytest. So xtrain is basically the data set which contains the train images, ytrain contains the train labels, xtest contains the test images, and ytest contains test labels. And in this function we are going to print all of these things. So xtrain.shape, that is we are basically printing out the shape of the training set images. After that we'll print out the shape of the labels of the train set, and then we'll print out the shape of the test set, and finally we'll print out the labels of the test set, and then we'll print out the train and test labels. So now let's click run. So by now we have successfully created the method. Now what should we do is we should load up the data from the MNIST dataset and store all of the data inside xtrain, ytrain, xtest and ytest. And then we need to pass in these values into the method which we have just created. So now let's click run. So it gives us these things. We can see that the training images shape is 60,000, 28 cross 28, and the labels is 60,000. So it basically means that there are 60,000 entries in the training set, and this is the size of each image, which is 28 cross 28. And then this is for the test images. This means that there are 10,000 entries in the test set, and the shape of these images is 28 cross 28. And these are the training and test labels. So these are the labelings of all the images. So the first image of the training set is 5, and then the second image in the training set is 0, and the third image in the training set is 4, and so on. So what we need to do is we have to build a model on top of the training set so that it learns all of the features properly, and then we'll check for its accuracy on top of the test set. So before we actually go ahead and build the model, we need to reshape it. Now the train image shape cannot be 28 cross 28. So it has to be of a single dimension. So for that, what we have to do is we have to multiply this. So we have already stored the values of number of rows and number of columns here as number of rows 28 and number of columns 28. Now we need to multiply both of them, and we'll convert this two-dimensional data into a single dimensional data. So we are basically reshaping this training data. So the same will be carried out on top of the test data also. We convert this two-dimensional data into a single dimensional data by reshaping this. So what we did here is we are just passing the xtest.shape, and I'm reshaping this by multiplying the number of rows into and number of columns, which is basically 28 cross 28. So let's click run. Now we have just reshaped the image data. Similarly, we have to reshape these labels as well. I mean, we need to perform one hot encoding on top of this. So we cannot just have these values of 5, 0, 4 individually. So that we'll do, what we'll do is, if there is 5, we'll do one hot encoding and represent it as a numpy array of 10 values. So we are taking this white train and encoding it into categorical values. So here we are passing the original white train value and then the number of classes over here, which is already set as 10. Similarly, we need to take the whitest and pass it to categorical method, and we'll set the number of classes, which is again 10 classes. Now let's click run. So I will pass all of these modified data into a method which we have created just now. So I'll pass xtrain, ytrain, xtest, ytest into data summary method, and let's see how these have been changed. Let's run it. So initially the train image shape was 60,028 cross 28, and that has been changed to 60,784. And similarly, the train label shape was 60,000 and we have changed that to 60,010. And the same way we did for the test images and the test labels also. And also we have performed one hot encoding for the labels. So if you have a glance at test labels, we have 7, 2 and 1 here. Now if you see here, 7 has been represented like this, 2 has been represented like this, and 1 has been represented like this. So here this 1 represents the place of that value. So if you have 1 at the 7th position, then it is of 7, and similarly if you have 1 in the 2nd position, then it is of the value 2, and if you have 1 in the 1st position, then it is of value 1. So it basically represents them. By now we have our data ready, and since we have our data ready, we can go ahead and build our sequential model. So for this, using this instance which I have created model, I will call in the sequential method. So models.sequential, and I will store that in this model object. And so now we have created our model. Now we can go ahead and add all of these layers. So what we'll do is we'll add the first layer, which is a dense layer and which is of 512 nodes, and the activation function is relu. And since this is the first layer, it should have the input shape. Input shape is nothing but the number of rows into the number of columns. So this basically comes to around 784. And after that we are adding the dropout with the probability of 0.5. After that we'll add the second layer. So the second layer, which is also a dense layer, which comprises of 256 nodes and the relu activation function, and this time the probability of the dropout is 0.25. And finally we have our output layer, which comprises of 10 nodes. We have 10 nodes because we have 10 classes in total. So these classes basically represent the numbers from 0 to 9. And the activation function for the output layer is softmax. So softmax function gives probabilities for each of these nodes in the output layer, and when we add up all of them it comes to 1. So let's run this. Now we are done with building the model. So it's time for fine tune it. For that we need to do model.compile. So this is where we'll be using 3 parameters. So the first parameter is the optimizer, which we'll be using, and the next the loss function which we have to reduce, and the third parameter is a metric which we have to calculate. So over here the optimizer is, or the optimization algorithm which we are using is RMS prop, and the loss which we have to reduce is categorical cross entropy, and the metrics which we need to calculate is accuracy of the model. So this actually the tuning part, and after that we have to fit the model on top of the training set, and to do that we'll be using model.fit and pass in all of these parameters. So xtrain and ytrain, and then batch size, epochs, all of these were initially given, and then we are validating this on top of the test data, that is xtest and ytest. So we have xtest and ytest over here, and also we set the batch size, number of epochs over here. So the batch size is 128 and the number of epochs is 10. Now let's run this. So this is our first epoch and it has just started. So if you observe, we can see that the loss is reducing with the increase in the number of epochs. So for the first epoch it has reduced, and for the second epoch it has still reduced, and for the third epoch it is going to reduce. So we are now in the sixth epoch. So if you observe, we have two graphs over here. The first graph represents the accuracy and the second graph represents the loss. So the loss graph, in the loss we can see that the error reduces with each epoch, and this shows how the accuracy increases with each epoch. So over here the orange line is for the validation data and this blue line is for the training data. So we see that the error considerably reduces for the training data as well as the validation data as the number of epochs increases. So if you observe, we can see that the error is continuously reducing for both the training data and the testing data, that is the validation data. And over here, as the number of epochs increases, the accuracy is increasing. So for the for the 2 epochs it has increased up to here, and for the 4 epochs it has increased up to here. So it is go on increasing for both the training data and the testing data. So we are able to visualize this because of the live loss plot which we have imported earlier. So now we are done with the 10 epochs. After the 10 epochs we have the log loss and the accuracy over here. So we see that after completing the 10 epochs, the error comes out to be 0.081, and for the validation data and the accuracy is 0.98. So we have successfully built the model. Now let's look at the summary of the model. So let's click run. So this gives the brief summary. It gives us the information of all the layers and the number of nodes in each layer. So the first layer is a dense layer with 512 nodes in it, and then we have a dropout layer for the first dense layer. Next, the second dense layer which has 256 nodes in it, and then we have a dropout layer for the second layer, and finally we have an output layer with 10 nodes in it, which is also a dense layer. So the number of parameters are 535,000, and all of 535,818, and all of these are trainable parameters over here. So now let's actually visualize how our model has progressed. For that, we are using the SVG method, and inside that we'll pass in our model. Inside that, model to dot, and we'll create a dot plot. Now let's click run. So this gives us the entire process which we have performed in the Keras sequential model. So this is how you can implement a simple sequential model using Keras.
So in this session, we have implemented a sequential model on top of the MNIST dataset. So if you get any errors or if you have any doubts, please let me know through the comment section or mail me at anitronics.info@gmail.com so that I'll help you out. Thank you for watching this video.